Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the very third CFI Insider. I'm Melissa Myers, and I'm the National Field Organizer for the Center for Inquiry and your host for tonight. Thanks for joining us for CFI Insider. Tonight, we're going to be joined by CFI's Director of the Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science program, Bertha Vazquez. At the end of the program, you'll have a chance to ask questions using the Q&A function in the chat. We'll let you know when the time comes. I know it's a big night for the nation tonight, so we will be sure and have you out in plenty of time for the debate, if that's your next stop. So let's get the facts in first, shall we?
Yeah.
I am pleased to welcome to our tonight's guest, Bertha Vazquez, Director of the Teacher Institute for Evolutionary Science, TIES, a project of the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science. Since its inception in April 2015, TIES has presented over 94 professional development opportunities for middle school science teachers across the country, providing these middle school teachers with free resources to teach their state evolution standards effectively in their classrooms. Additionally, Bertha has been teaching middle school in Miami-Dade County public school systems for 27 years. Welcome, Bertha. I know that you taught school today. How are you doing?
It's a challenge. Online school is a challenge. What can I tell you? I need to introduce my dogs. I know they do this all day while I'm teaching. I apologize for that. It's a challenge, and we were going back October 21st, and the governor is now, I'm in Miami-Dade, Florida, and the governor now is saying, no, sorry, you have to go back next Monday.
Oh my goodness.
And, you know, we were the epicenter of this thing, and it was bad here. It was bad. I don't want to play it down at all. And so it looks like now I'm going back on the 5th, and they're moving classes around, and I'm getting new kids, and I'm losing kids, and yeah. I see that New York City Teachers Union strikes, they will delay. We're not allowed to strike. Teachers are not allowed to strike in the state of Florida, so that's not going to happen here. But I guess I'm going back on Monday, and it worries me, but it is what it is, and I'll do my best. Online teaching has been quite the challenge. But I am so impressed with my fellow teachers and how they've all just helped each other and just guided each other along, and we've stumbled through it together. But that's what TIES is about, right? Teachers helping teachers, and that's what's been going on during this whole pandemic thing. And I'm sorry, I just got to get rid of these dogs in a second.
That's all right. I think we all love an internet dog moment. Right?
there's one going on behind me.
That's why Al Gore made the internet, right? Isn't that why?
Oh, yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, Bertha, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. And I know that it is a busy night. There's a lot going on in the nation, a lot to pay attention to. You know, about this program, as it turns out, CFI Insider introduces people to their first taste of the Center for Inquiry's work. So our audience members who aren't familiar with the TIES program, for those folks, can you talk about the origin story a little bit? What was the impetus for the creation of this program, and how's it evolved since it exists?
Oh, I like
2015.
I like the way you use the word evolve. That's very good. Hold on a second.
All right. I can tell you that was a teacher voice moment right there.
Did you see that was the teacher voice moment? I told my son 5 minutes ago to get the dogs out of here. Well, I love science. I've been teaching it my whole life, 30 plus years now. And I'm also a lifelong Richard Dawkins fan. I read all his books. I remember reading The Selfish Gene at 18, and it really shifted my paradigm. I actually have a British first edition behind me. Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. And I had the opportunity to meet him, and I had the opportunity, that was back in maybe 2013, 14, I had the opportunity to meet Richard, and I told him that I taught, and I told him that I help my fellow science teachers teach evolution better, because I teach in a middle school. I teach high school science to middle school students. And a lot of middle school teachers are excellent teachers, but they may not we teach everything. I mean, I teach everything from geology to physical science to biology to life science to everything. And we may not have the content. They're excellent teachers, but I don't have the content. For example, when I teach rocks, I'm not the best teacher because I never took geology. So I told them that I was helping my fellow science teachers teach life science, evolution, biology. And he said, I'm not going to do the accent, but I said, what? He said, oh, wow, can I come and help? I was like, huh? You want to come and help? He's like, yes, can I come to your school and speak to these teachers that you're helping?
Wow.
Yeah, after like I leaned on the wall of my classroom and slid down to the floor, I was like, yeah, you know, I ran to my principal and I said, look, Richard Dawkins wants to come and speak to the teachers that I've been helping with evolution content. And Miami-Dade opened it to every science teacher in the county.
Wow.
And we are the 4th largest school district in the world. I mean, we have, I don't know, 20, 30,000 teachers. So we filled the auditorium. I have a picture of it. I could show you. And it was great. And then he said, would you do this for me nationally? And that scared me because I'm a teacher. I'm not a program director or anything like that. But being in the classroom 30 years, I think I understood what teachers needed. And I took it on. And at the beginning, and that's my fault, I was remiss to not correct the document that you sent me, but we're not at 90 workshops. We're well past 200 workshops at this point.
My goodness.
Yeah, in all 50 states. And now, of course, we've had to really pivot online. It started out with me in Miami, and now it's 50 states and over 80 presenters.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Now, you mentioned that you've had to pivot, of course, due to COVID. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? What's the program done to sort of pivot? And just as a teacher, that's a complicated thing.
Yeah. Well, we were doing mainly face-to-face workshops, and I think face-to-face workshops are more worthwhile. And I will remember exactly the day our North Dakota presenter called me, March 11th, maybe, and said, hey, they just canceled my workshop. And I think that's when the whole pandemic and it hit me like, oh my God, they just canceled a workshop. So the first thing I realized is, like, from one day to the next, we were online. So I realized that teachers needed student guided units. The stuff I usually present, the teacher is the guide on the side, but he or she has to be there. But I decided to create units where the students were completely on their own. Sure. And it was so successful. The middle school one was so successful. I'm like, well, shoot, let's just do a high school one too. So I created these units where you could assign the unit to the student, and they answer questions by going to, it's all in one place, but they answer questions going to online games, interactive websites, videos, right there on the slides. And then I created the rubrics and the exams and everything else to go with it. And I started posting it all over Facebook and emailing, and I was getting 200, 300 emails a day from teachers asking if I could send them the answer keys and everything else. So the CFI techie, who's awesome, Mark.
Yes.
He's awesome. Shout out to Mark.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, he created for me a form that teachers fill out. So I didn't have to be emailing. I think it was downloaded over 2,000 times.
Oh my goodness.
Between the middle and the high school one. And then of course we shifted over the summer, all the workshops were online. We did get a lot of cancellations, but now a lot of school districts are shifting to online PD as well. I just picked up something in Tennessee today. Yesterday, Oregon. I picked up Oregon yesterday. So teachers and their conferences and the science teacher associations are starting to pivot and go online.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we did. The other thing we did is we went ahead and translated everything into Spanish, because there's a lot of Spanish speaking kids. Yeah. And we also been promoting like an elementary unit and stuff like that. So it's been very 180 type pivot for everybody.
Yeah, completely. Now, just for those of you who maybe aren't in education, when we're saying PD, it's professional development.
Yes.
So as I'm a former teacher myself, I was elementary through middle school teacher.
Yay, middle school teachers.
middle school English as a new language,
Oh,
with an emphasis on science in particular. So we often would have to go in for professional development as teachers just because the world of education changes at such a rapid pace. The research is always new. We're always getting more stuff to sort of process and integrate into our classrooms. So professional development is a major, major part of being a
yep.
teacher, especially depending on, it varies from state to state, but every state's got some type of requirement for it.
Yep.
So that's what we mean by that. Now, I can't imagine having to teach right now during COVID. I am fortunate enough to work for the Center of Inquiry. Those of you who are doing it are just a resource, and hats off to every single person who is a teacher, especially in this climate where if you're doing it in person, you're doing it with your life in your hands.
Yeah.
If you're doing it digitally, it's an entirely new set of challenges that,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
especially when you're dealing with kids from different income backgrounds, you don't know what kind of technology they have. It has introduced so many different issues.
I have to say, I'm very, very proud of my school district, Miami-Dade County Public Schools. We decided March 13th, we closed. Within 48 hours, every kid in the school district, and I think there's like, the numbers I'm off, but it's like 250,000 students. Every kid had a laptop and Wi-Fi.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an incredible success story. I know here we're in the Buffalo area, Buffalo Public Schools. A lot of my former colleagues are really struggling with how are they going to get the technology in the hands of all of these kids who desperately need it. The Wi-Fi, the computer, the tablet, all of those things become the school bus right now.
Right. And we also, he's continued to feed all the kids. We have a large percentage of children on free and reduced lunch.
Yes.
And our superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, continued to feed all of the kids who were on free and reduced lunch. Himself, he's out there with his staff feeding all those kids.
Incredible.
So it can be done when the hearts are in the right place. And I always say, teachers are nice people.
Yeah.
They really are.
You have to be.
We're not in it for the money.
Well, clearly, they say that, there's a teacher shortage. No, indeed, there's a master's level professional shortage willing to work for under $40,000 a year.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of my friends have retired this year.
Yeah.
Because the scheduling and the way we lost 2 institutions at my school this year.
Goodness.
So yeah, I actually looked at my Florida retirement just to see. I was like, ooh, I can't quite do it yet.
Oh my goodness. I can just imagine that is weighing heavily on a lot of folks' minds, and it's a shame. They're going to lose a lot of talent that way. Now, just sort of like I started to get into the topic of how that professional development stuff, sometimes we get a piece of professional development in these courses and you get it back and it's extremely unwieldy to use in the field.
Yes.
It's so hard.
I have just the program for you.
Can you tell me how you keep it so that it's easy for a teacher to pick up and adapt for their needs?
Okay, so that is exactly right. I think of NASA because I go to these workshops and these conferences and my God, does NASA have good stuff.
Yeah.
But there's so much and it's all over the place, and you get back to your classroom and you get back to your emails and your students and your regular day-to-day thing, and you never implement all of this amazing stuff. So I thought, how do I do this? You read my mind. How do I do this so that it's used and it makes sense? Right. Okay. So may I share my screen?
Absolutely.
I've been doing this all day, share my screen. So can you see the teacher, the web page?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if I go here to see all resources, there's our ready to go units at the top. Do you see it?
Yes, this is the TIESeducation.org, right? So
yes.
These are all the teaching materials that are available for download if you're an educator.
Yes. So the first page, if I should go back to the first page. It is about teachers helping teachers, and the first page will show you some nice pictures and stuff. And there's more goodies down this way, like the free webinars that we offer and everything. But I wanted to go to the see all resources. And what I did was on the left-hand side here, it says ready to go middle school evolution unit. And
Wow.
this is free. And when I do face-to-face, I give them hard copies as well. That's everything in one place. That will meet or exceed the evolution standards of your state. So let's say New York has really good evolution standards. Florida too.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Shock.
Yeah, I know, I know. I know. I don't believe it. But anyway,
Yes.
so this meets or exceeds the state standards, and it's all in one place. So if you download the classroom presentation, it says stop, do this activity, watch this video, ask these questions, continue. Okay, hand this out, this lab investigation, do this lab investigation. So it's all in a box, and you just open the box and everything is in one place.
That's
Now,
tremendous.
it is PowerPoint, so the teachers can modify it to their needs. And then in addition to that, they can add all these other things if they wanted to. You know, these are all these other natural selection, evidence for evolution, artificial selection, etc. There's all this extra stuff that they can add if they wanted to. But if they just downloaded this classroom presentation and in the notes section followed along, they are hitting everything in one place. And teachers are busy, so the fact that I'm giving them all in one place is a very, very big deal.
That's true.
And then I can show you the other thing. I think when you said about the PD, I've gone to a lot of really bad PD.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. And
you're just like, could you send this in just a packet? I could have read it at my leisure.
Yeah. And because I'm very, very aware of 30 years of different PD,
yeah,
I know what we need to offer. And for one thing, I mean, we tend to overlook content. Content is super important. Like I said, if I'm teaching middle school, I would love a teacher institute for geological science, you know, where somebody gives me the type of content that I give people for evolution. So first of all, we do focus on content. Secondly, there's so many good resources out there and teachers don't have the time to scour the internet. Right. So I put it all on one page. I call it the Walmart of evolution education. It's all here on this page. And the other thing is that I only let teachers present. It's teacher led. And I try to get local teachers. So Iowa, I want a teacher from Iowa. Colorado, teacher from Colorado, because they know what their fellow Colorado teachers are going through better than me coming from South Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what, like that in and of itself is you know, very nice. Like when we would be getting specialists from out of state, you know, it would be, oh, it's a specialist from out of state. You know, they're supposed to know something about your kids and their life, you know, but they don't. They don't. So it's so refreshing just to have you're taking the time to get presenters who know the demographic that they're presenting to.
Yeah. And I also feel like I have 30 years in, and I'll probably do a little more time, but the minute I walk out of the classroom, I feel like I'm going to lose credibility. It's a big deal when they walk in and the person presenting is a teacher.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes down the line.
No, I agree.
The road.
I agree completely with that. It really does. It changes your perception, and it changes the gravity of the information that's coming through. So let me see here.
I think you wanted to take a look at some of this stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely. Could we just take a peek at some of the materials that you have here?
Yes. Now, when you're going to have to help me in screen sharing on, do you see a PowerPoint go up?
Yep.
Okay, good. Because Zoom, sometimes you have to like get out of screen share and go back into screen share and stuff. But anyway, it's working. So it's good. You know, when I'm teaching, the kids don't respond sometimes. And I'm like, can you see my screen?
and they're like,
Yeah. So you asked me, how did ties begin? And this is the day I was telling you about that Richard Dawkins came to my school. But
I love this.
I figured I'd throw that in there real quick. I want to talk about what teachers are going through And then, because I think it really helps you understand why we have ties. Evolution, creationism, there's always been an issue, right, with it. And I think the number now is 40%, which it's getting better, but 40% of Americans still think, I have a great graphic here. Let me show you this nice random sampling. See, it's random. Can you tell?
Yeah, super random.
So these are the numbers in the United States, and I'm going to give you a peek at ties, but I'm going to give you a peek at why ties. Okay, so this gray line, 40% of Americans believe that God created man in his present form.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gone down. It's gone down. It's getting a little upward trend right there now. This lighter green line, man developed, but God guiding. So we've got, these are like theistic evolution, I guess you can call it. And
Yeah, your
that's,
deists. Yeah, your Thomas's, Jefferson, etc. Right?
yeah.
Okay.
So that line's gone down. And this line, you know, it's encouraging. Man developed, God had no part. It's gone from 9% back like 1982 to 22% last year. But I still think it's extraordinary that 40% of Americans don't, that if we never evolved, that we are here in our present form. And this affects teachers. So I'm going to jump down and I'm going to tell you how this affects teachers down here.
Excellent.
When asked if they feel pressure to include creationism, 31% of these are high school teachers responded that they did. And those two organizations down there are the ones that did these studies. When asked if they feel pushed to de-emphasize or omit evolution, 30% agreed.
Wow.
So it's coming mainly from parents and students, not from their principals and stuff like that. So let me give you an example of like an anecdote. This is, if you've ever been to Florida, and it turns out Georgia as well, you're walking along and you run into these guys, right? Have you ever been down here, Melissa?
You know, not where I'm going to be walking. Like, is this just on the ground?
Yeah. It's just on the ground. I mean, it's in the rocks, right? So you might not find it in the street or whatever, but it is not uncommon at all to be walking somewhere where they've like.
Oh no, did you pause?
Construction site, or what was a seashell, right?
Yeah.
Because we were underwater over 100,000 years ago. So in Georgia, I have a friend who's in southern Georgia, and she had a hiking club. How fun is that?
Love
and
it.
she looks down, and turns out Georgia was underwater too. I didn't know that. And she picks up one of these guys, and I have one in my classroom, and I take it to ties meetings too. And she says, oh, look, guys, it's a fossil. Georgia was underwater over 100,000 years ago, and look, isn't this neat? This is a shell. Well, one of the kids went home and told their parents, and they canceled her hiking club.
What?
That's, yeah, because no, the earth is 6,000 years old. You can't be telling the kids that Georgia was underwater before the earth was formed. This is the type of pressure that a lot of teachers feel around the country. To make matters worse, sometimes it's not coming from the parents and the students. You don't have to read all that, but I'll quickly summarize. This is coming from the county, the school district, excuse me. It's telling teachers to introduce evolution this way. It's telling teachers to put kids in groups and say, okay, Johnny, you tell Mary what a zombie is. Mary, you tell Johnny what an alien is. And then the teacher's supposed to say, well, okay, we know that zombies and aliens aren't real, but we understand what they are. Now, you may not believe in evolution and you may not think it's real, but you could still learn what it means and what it is. So this is how these teachers are told to present evolution, right? And even sometimes you could go to education conferences. This is at the National Education Association. And for the last 17 years, Answers in Genesis, which is at, I believe it's Ken Ham. And yeah, he has a booth there through a loophole. He's been able to have a booth there. And look at all that nice, shiny educational material you've got there.
Fancy.
So teachers are getting a lot of mixed messages. And so you have what we call the cautious middle. You have a lot of teachers that accept evolution, but they just kind of avoid it. And the best way to get people to present it properly is to give them confidence, to give them content and resources. Now, it's getting better. Okay, we now have a 60% level of evolution acceptance among adults. And if you go under the age of 30, that number goes to 68%. And you may want to, think that it's because we have great science communicators like Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I agree, but I think it's also that this younger group of adults has received a better evolution education. So there is hope here. And I love this presentation because so many things, I have whiplash right now. So many things are going wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to turn. So at least these numbers are going in the right direction. And just recently, look at October 2020. This was in our own Skeptical Inquirer magazine.
Excellent publication also by Center for Inquiry.
Yes, I get it and look forward to it every time it arrives. In the publication called Evolution, Education, and Outreach, Glenn Branch and his co-writers there, Eric Blitzer and Ann Reed, have found that a dozen years has made a great big difference. So this is new data that some of you have not seen before. In 2007, 9.8 hours were dedicated to evolution in a high school biology class. Today it's 12.4 hours. And the amount of human evolution, it's gone from 4 hours to 7.7 hours. So that's a nice little number there. And another good an improvement here is in 2007, we had 13 to 16% of all teachers espousing the creationist, like openly teaching creationism, which is against the law, by the way.
Wow.
Today, that number's gone down to 10%. So that's good. And the other number that's gone down is the amount of mixed messages. A lot less kids, like almost half, 23 to 12%. That's gone down. Less people are avoiding the subject, and more people are teaching it as settled science. All of these numbers are going in the right direction.
That's
Isn't
some
nice?
Excellent news.
It is. I know.
We love excellent news. How rare is that in this day and age? Thanks, Bertha.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So why? So what the study showed was that, first of all, get some good state standards. Like New York and Florida, get some good state standards. And we have national standards now that are being adopted across the country. I think at this point, there's almost half the states have adopted these next generation science standards, and they are good. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that now you have to teach the teachers. You have the professional development. We go back to that and equip them with the ability to teach this stuff. And I think a good teacher can teach anything, as long as that they have the content and the resources to do so. And that's where UQ ties, right? Because I obviously not taking credit for those amazing numbers that Glenn Branch and his colleagues are showing us in just 12 years. But hey, 200 workshops in all 50 states. It's
not like you can't have no impact here, right?
Right. I mean,
you're absolutely a part of that bump, I would have to say.
Well, we're part of the Center for Inquiry, so we can't say that because there's no data to back us up.
Fair enough.
I don't like to say things without data. But it's nice to dream. It's nice to hope. So what do we do? You wanted to see some of the stuff we do. First of all, good standards. Yeah. So this is what a good middle school standards will look like. Okay, that the evolution should be the center point or the underlying theme of the school year, of your life science curriculum. That evolution is, I think this is what makes the theory of evolution so strong, is that the evidence is coming from all over the place. Not just fossils. And in middle school, we just talk about natural selection. We give really good online resources, as I explained, and a lot of hands-on, what we call active learning. We talk about the word theory so many times. Even scientists, I have a theory that the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl. And it's so misused. It's not that it's misused. It's just I tell the kids there's two definitions for that word. And just like organic at the supermarket doesn't mean what it means. I don't think it means what you think it means. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we talk about that, and we have some really good videos to help teachers explain that to their kids. The other big misconception is that ladder of progress you see on the top right. That is not what happened. And if you Google evolution, you'll get 100 of those.
Yes, sure.
And it's wrong. It's not true. It's a tree. It's not a ladder of progress.
Right.
And then we really push that inquiry, getting kids to figure out the answers on their own. It's a really big deal. We focus on modern examples of evolution. Of course, we talk about Darwin and company, but we share a lot of modern evolution in action. It's happening right now. Okay. For example, these wonderful people, Peter and Rosemary Grant of Princeton University, showing, and it's beautiful, they're showing evolution in Darwin's finches. How appropriate is that? So we go into that kind of thing. And here's the lab that goes with that. Now,
so are we looking at a feeding strategies lab here?
Yes, the beaks, they have different beaks. Those are the phenotypes. And we mimic exactly what happens in the Galapagos on that island. And those are actually my kids, and I let them put the beaks in their mouth. That's not happening this year. Actually, no labs are happening this year, but there's a tamer version for ties, because I know a lot of teachers wouldn't dream of doing this. I have these kids more than 1 year, and I know them really well, and I know I can give them knives and they'll be okay.
Right.
They also moved me out of that beautiful classroom that you see there this year. So there's another group doing the same thing. Those are different years. Those kids are in college now.
So we remember our beaks are Darwin's birds, right? So
yes.
The idea being that the different beak shape has to do with different feed that the animal is eating. And
yes. And we're seeing actual speciation going on right now in the Galapagos. And it's the first time when I took on this job, it's the first time I heard macro versus micro evolution. Those are creationist terms. That's why I'd never heard them before. And they're okay with microevolution, changes within a species. They don't recognize macroevolution. Or at least last time I checked, they didn't. And we're seeing it all the time all over the world, including, appropriately enough, Darwin's finches. So that's pretty cool. The stickleback fish in Alaska are also changing before our eyes. And so we have labs, as you could see there, those girls are working on a lab with real pictures of the stickleback fish. Nice. So it's, we offer little bell ringers. This flea medicine doesn't work on your dog anymore. And we make the kids kind of figure out why it doesn't work on the dogs anymore. So we're really offering a lot of very relevant. I'm really about connecting what's going on in the classroom with their world. That's so important.
It absolutely is. I think that science can become an esoteric subject for students when it's not constantly referred back, like history, you know, like it's one of those things that unless you're sort of reinforcing how it applies and how it actually makes a difference in one's actual life, it makes it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's everywhere. Science, I mean, evolution is in your body, not just out your window, right? We do stress that religious belief should make no difference. Yes. And we purposely put these two guys on the same slide because Dr. Kenneth Miller is an excellent biologist. He's the author of the textbook we use here in Florida, and he happens to be Catholic who goes to church every Sunday. But I always say, if you were to get lucky enough to have one of these two gentlemen teach your evolution unit, there should be no difference in the content presented.
Right.
And one's an atheist and one is a thoughtful religious man. So there you go. That's another thing we present. We give teachers resources. I know we don't have a lot of time here, but I answer a lot of emails from teachers who have questions and are being asked to promote Christian views and stuff like that. And we offer the support. We tell teachers to turn outside of their classrooms. It's not up to them what they teach. It's up to their standards. So we give teachers an out because I think teachers by nature are non-confrontational. So you just say, hey, it's the standards. If you have a problem with it, take it up with the school board or the education, Department of Education. So I wanted you to take a look at, these are what the workshops used to look like.
When we had in real life.
Yeah. So that's the first workshop. ever right there. That was April of 2015 at the Museum of Science. I love collaborating with museums, universities, zoos, and things like that. So that happened to be a collaboration with the Miami Museum of Science. And their scientists spoke and everything. It was really neat. And we had a Siberian fox.
Oh.
Yeah, in Siberia, they've turned foxes basically into dogs.
Yeah, I
And
did some reading about that. Like they've
yes,
managed to make sort of like a domestic, it's like a cat dog, basically.
yeah,
It's
yeah, he smells. He's really stinky. But it was,
oh,
as you can see, I'm very excited to be holding one of the foxes from that Siberian experiment. I have a friend that has a license to get all these different animals, and she brought it to the
aw.
workshop. So that was cool.
Hello,
The,
smelly man.
oh, it was a female, but super smelly. So these are
Smelly
some of our
lady.
numbers. And as you can see right now, we got a lot of cancellations, but I'm not counting some of the online things that we're doing in there.
Yeah.
So we're well over that if you include all the webinars. We're well over those numbers.
Wow.
That's where we've been. All over the place. And now, of course, I have other people presenting. I'm not flying all over the country. Maybe,
Right.
maybe. And so these are some of the people. I thought you'd like to see some of the people presenting. They all
Oh,
look like
thank you. Yes, absolutely.
cool, geeky science people. That's Texas, Georgia, and Oregon. That's not their names. That's where they live. Some more people. More people. That guy hugging the tree does Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So shout out to Blake.
Good for him. Thank
And
you.
the one coming up is in Virginia. That's the next one, and it's the guy on the top left, Curious Moranland. His name's Chris Moran. So
Very nice. So that's your next workshop.
It's coming up. It's coming up. And here, Therese was in Virginia, and that is the governor's wife, who I just found out he just tested positive. The governor of Virginia.
I heard she did too.
Oh, well, that's her in that picture. She's a former biology teacher and a great supporter of science education.
Well, let us hope that they both recover swiftly.
Yeah, so it was neat because she was very happy to meet the TIES presenter, Therese. And I just thought that was awesome that the governor's wife was interested in our workshop.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a tremendous sort of just sort of blessing on the program, you know, to just sort of have the backing of someone in politics in that way. Unfortunately, even in fairly progressive areas, sometimes we wind up with folks in power who would rather not see us do our work.
Yeah.
You know.
That's one of the things we need to take care of in January is the gerrymandering of those districts.
Yes, absolutely.
If we can. I don't even want to think about that.
Taking care of those down ballot elections for sure. Yeah. We are, I'm sure that it's all very heavy on our minds at this moment in time, especially.
Yeah, I'd be skipping that debate tonight, I think. But
that's self-care, Bertha.
It is. They didn't make a difference 4 years ago, so
yeah.
I am not endorsing the views of the Center for Inquiry. I'm endorsing my own. We do not take a position, I believe, in candidates and political parties. So
that's correct.
So anyway, here's a good focus on some of the technicals, the internet stuff we do. We introduce a lot of online games and stuff for the teachers. And that's a great group in Birmingham, Alabama. That was a that was a very fun day. And I invite scientists. Nathan Lentz, who presented just a few days ago for us, he came down to Virginia for that one. I'm sorry, Alabama. So I think that's, oh, he's in the picture. He's third from the right.
Love
with
this.
the beard. Yeah, isn't that great? So the teachers try out the labs, and then the teachers take the labs back to the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Nathan. They're trying out all the different labs. We'd like to interact with zoos, and then the zoos bring out all their cool little animals, which is my favorite thing. We invite community members who happen to have a hobby. For example, this person is in Naples, Florida, and her hobby is to collect all these skulls and stuff. So we invite her along.
Nice.
We give away stuff. which is
Look at,
super important.
oh, that. Oh, when you're a teacher and everything is coming out of your own bottom line,
Yeah,
um, even in some of the best districts, you're winding up, buying your own personal library of children's books and things like
absolutely.
this.
Oh
So
yeah. So
this
we give
is
away. We give
this
away
is
a lot
like
of stuff.
gold. This is like gold.
And oh, so there's more giveaway stuff. And we give food because
Yay!
teachers love free food.
True.
So we often offer breakfast or lunch or both. And that's another way to attract teachers to our workshops. Teachers, they're so nice. So we get a lot of really nice feedback, as you can see.
Wow.
And I love this one. This is my favorite. I cannot thank you enough for what you've done in making TIES the most useful evil ed group for middle schoolers in the country. So that's neat. And then, of course, it translates into students. So these are pictures that I get from teachers doing some of the labs and stuff that we teach them. Then they're taking it back to their classrooms.
These are great labs. These are absolutely tremendous labs.
And now what we're offering too is we have two coming up, October 8th and October 16th, I believe. Scientists do workshops, webinars for us, and they take questions from people all over the country. And this year and last year, I've been inviting the teachers to invite their students, which is new because we were focusing on teachers, but we're having the students come along and ask ask questions. Like, for example, Richard did one for us, which was cool.
Love that.
And, yeah. And that's pretty much it, Melissa. I know that we want to finish early because some people do want to see that thing happening later.
We
So
do. Yeah, I know that that's true. And it's important to be paying attention to our process and all of these things. And if you have the intestinal fortitude to make it through that debate, then more power to you. Bless.
Yes, more power to you.
Thank you so much for showing us all of the amazing components of this program. It is something that we are extremely proud of as the Center for Inquiry. We are always talking about it, always trying to talk it up. What would you say if you had to kind of like, looking forward, what are the greatest needs of this program? How can we support?
Two things, connections. So I love having scientists live in front of the teachers and now the students as well. So if we have scientists, for example, October 16th, it's called Ask a Scientist. And it's Dr. Alex Wilson of the University of Miami. And she's just going to take questions from kids. What's it like to be an evolutionary biologist? What do you do every day? That kind of thing. So if you are a scientist or science author and you'd like to present a free webinar for us, that would be great. The other thing is money, because everything we do is, are you stopping me or?
Just one moment. How do they get in contact with you if they want to?
Can I share my email in the chat,
yes, ma'am.
for example? All right, let me do that.
Well, we'll pop the email right here in the chat. You can get a hold of Bertha directly, and she will be more than happy to put you to use, I'm certain.
Yes, let me make sure I'm spelling that right, because I told the kids I'm making a lot more mistakes than usual. Centerforinquiry.org, there it is. And please be mindful, it's V-A-Z, not V-A-S. I get a lot of people telling me they emailed me and then they didn't.
Yeah.
We have workshops in Seattle, Paul, Rich. Anyway, I'm reading the questions.
Oh yeah, no, it's coming. We're coming to you for the questions. And then we said that we need money.
Yes, because everything we offer is free.
Yes.
So that's one thing. It costs money. But the other thing is, we're paying the teachers to present. And I've presented a lot of things for a lot of people, and I don't get paid usually, or I get paid, $10 an hour or something like that. So I think what we're trying to do is show respect to the teachers who present for us by giving them the money they deserve to prepare and to present for us. So, and we also pay for their, if they're presenting at a conference, we pay the conference fees. And their lunch and things like that. So that costs money. And we've been so lucky to have some very, very generous donors. But I can't wait for us to get back to face-to-face. And we just got a workshop, actually. South Dakota next March is face-to-face.
Wow.
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, it's not going to happen right away, but we are going to start needing that income again to start presenting and traveling and things like that.
Absolutely. So just in general, we are always looking for donations, but if you would like to support this program in general, we can make sure that you can specify that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to move to the Q&A. So there's a Q&A function here in your Zoom dashboard. If you would like to ask Bertha a question, then we will be happy to entertain. So looking here, we already have a couple of questions ready to go. So we'll go with Arthesh's question first. Is the challenge to teach evolution the same globally, or are the challenges more profound in certain countries? Is that something that you are knowledgeable about? Like,
the US is not good. Turkey is the other, I think, the only other developed nation that is lower than us when you ask people about creationism versus evolution. Other countries, it's not so bad. When I have a lot, I mean, I'm in South Florida, so I'm in constantly, there's Europeans and South Americans, and they all give me these funny looks. Like, what? You guys, you have a problem with evolution? They don't know. They don't get it. So I think it's particularly difficult here. And if you're going to look at the first world or whatever you want to call it, Turkey is the other country that's not doing so well in this present. But Europe, South America, not a big deal to teach evolution.
That's the places where it goes over, you know, easier than I thought are always kind of like, as religious as parts of South America is, it's kind of fine, you know.
I always argue that, you know, Catholics had their fight with science 300 years ago. They burned their scientists at the stake 300 years ago. So they've kind of stopped doing, like, they stopped taking on science because they know they're going to lose, right?
They got it out of they got the burnings out of their system.
Yeah, really. So I always say it's like the younger religions that are still like cocky, like teenagers that still think that they can take on science, and we have a lot of that in this country.
Lois asks if Canadian teachers could use your materials.
Oh yeah, go to tieseducation.org. I have never actually looked at Canadian similar, the high school and middle school standards. I'm sure you can use it, and email me directly, and I'll guide you as much as I can. I love Canadians. I go to Banff hiking every year, so I'm a big fan of the Canadian Rockies.
I'm hoping one day we'll be allowed in again. I live here I live here in a border town, and I'm used to just going over and hanging out. Nope.
I have friends that want to leave for November 3rd, and the only place taking Floridians is Jamaica, I think.
Well,
the irony.
It'll be nice, at least. It's fine. Carolyn asks, what's the best way to introduce this program to a school board superintendent or principal?
If you introduce me, call me or email me, then I can introduce the program. Or I would chat on the phone with you. I'm very much about having contact with people. So I would chat on the phone with you and discuss, get to know your school district a little bit. Is it going to be like, oh man, this stuff is awesome? Or, oh God, I don't know if we can show that in our classrooms. You know, I need to get a feel, and then I can help. So did you say Lois?
Lois.
Yes.
Or this is Carolyn. This was
Carolyn. Email me, please, and we'll exchange phone numbers, and we can make that happen. And I might even have a presenter in your area anyway.
That's excellent too. So Lawrence had a comment. The comment is that Virginia should be a receptive state because Ralph Northam was a physician. Have you found that to be the case?
Yes, absolutely. And as I showed you the picture, his wife came to our workshop. That was his wife in the picture. And she was a former biology teacher. And as we said, they both tested. You said she tested positive for COVID too. So sending them our best wishes.
Absolutely.
Yes, Virginia's been extremely, I think, I want to say at least 12 we've had there. We have two really good presenters in Virginia.
What a boon to Virginia. So Paul Paul has another suggestion for us, which I actually enjoy here. It says, it would be cool to have a donation for amounts that map to feed a teacher for a day, fund the fight for a tie, fund a ties staff member for the day, and so on. Have we
Hey, Robin, are you hearing
considered
this?
that? Have we considered that?
I know Robin's my friend and boss is here. That's a great idea.
I like that very much.
Hey, you know what we could do? The donation for ties, instead of just please donate, it could say, you know, fund the lunch for teachers on a workshop or something like that. And I have a ballpark amount of what these things cost.
Right. We could do, you know, like fund the package in a box, you know, the box of materials.
I'm writing these things down because
thank you very much.
I forget everything nowadays.
Do you know, it's really hard to keep stuff in the mind when time is an illusion.
Whoa, that was deep.
So we have here a question from another Paul. Can you speak to ties in relation to public versus private schools?
Yes. I'm thinking before I answer.
Okay.
Not much different.
We don't get a lot of that these days, thinking before we answer.
Yes.
Very nice.
I aspire to be less wrong every day. That's my job. Not much difference, because a lot of charter and private schools come to our events. Some of our presenters work. I have somebody in Chicago who works at a Jewish school, somebody in Indiana who works at a Catholic school. Now, I don't get too many Christian fundamentalists or Baptist.
I would imagine not, yeah.
But no, we get a lot of private. We get a lot of private schools, and at least, like, for example, a lot of districts like mine, they'll open their PDs to private schools if they want to come. So I get a lot of a mix between the two. And we also do a lot of stuff with secular homeschoolers as well. Kids are not even going to a traditional school.
Yeah, there's a bit of a movement for that. And especially now during COVID, if you live in an area where people are wilding out about mask restrictions, all of a sudden homeschooling your non-religious children sounds like a great plan. Stuart says that you're wonderful. You are. That's true. Facts. Are teachers working COVID into their evolution teaching?
Yes. And we've had I can't speak for everyone. Again, as a member of Center for Inquiry, I need to base my responses on evidence. But I have had 4 teachers and students nationwide 2 webinars called The Evolution of the Coronavirus. And Dr. Mark Reimers, he's at Michigan State University, has been so kind to present for me he's an expert in these things. Mm-hmm. And he talks about the bat, the pangolin. They compare the genome and the genes between the bat, the pangolin, the human, and how these things happen, etc. And so, yes, we have the webinar. If you'd like to see it, it's on the web page. It's got a bright red picture, and if you go down to the webinars and see all webinars, it's called The Evolution of the Coronavirus. And I know that particular webinar is short. It's relatively short. It's only about 20 minutes long. So it's been assigned by many, many teachers to their students last school year and this one. Great question.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we're talking about the TIES resource website, correct?
Yes, it's tieseducation.org. It's on the first page. Just scroll down.
Fantastic. All right. So Rob has sort of like a question comment, and it says, there's a growing body of education research suggesting that making a space to respectfully discuss faith-grounded concerns and tensions among students about evolution in life science classrooms can be good pedagogy with significant impacts on evolution understanding and acceptance.
Yes.
And he sort of cites his sources. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Can you expand a little bit about that and how the TIES program, if or when they make sort of space for those conversations? I know in my own classroom, I had a huge Muslim majority. And sometimes that, like the first day for us would just be a matter of saying, you know, we're gonna have difference of thought on this, and that's okay. But it's like science is a process, you know, and
I know the people he's talking about, and they're doing great work as well. So 25% of teachers bring up intelligent design, and that might scare you. But actually, half of those teachers, which is in line with that 13% promoting creationism, these numbers are a little old, half of those teachers, including myself, we bring it up to explain why it's not science. And we bring it up to explain why it falls short, why the evidence isn't there for it. And I think you do need to bring it. It always comes up. And every workshop and every class I've ever taught, religion and evolution come up. Yeah. And one thing is to have knowledge. Another thing is to kind of be inoculated against creationism. If you tell, so a lot of kids, especially where I teach in a highly educated urban school, they don't even know there's a problem with creationism.
Right.
Right, because they've never encountered. I have a lot of foreign, South American, Hispanic kids. They don't even know there's an issue. So by bringing it up and explaining, okay, like the thing I said about Kenneth Miller and Richard Dawkins and saying there should be no difference in the content presented, and by explaining why intelligent design falls short, it is not a valid scientific theory, so that when they go out into the world, they will hear it for the first time and say, whoa, my teacher never told me any of that. They're ready. They're inoculated, so to speak.
Right.
So there is a group of people that are taking that route and just presenting it and talking about faith and religion and stuff like that. I am not really doing that in ties, but it does come up, and we do discuss what you can say in the classroom when that comes up.
Yeah.
But it's not on the webpage or anything like that.
Right. And I think that is also something that is a knowing your students kind of thing. Those are individual, less something that like a prescriptive one size fits all kind of thing is.
Yeah. And you know, teachers are always, I'm always scanning, and I can tell who's uncomfortable. And I might approach them, and every year I have one or two. Last couple of years I haven't had any, but I will approach them separately and make sure they're okay and talk to them individually, because they may not, like the ones that I have a lot of like Jehovah's Witnesses, and they tend to be kind of quiet kids, so it's better to, like, quiet about that anyway. It's better to talk to them separately, privately.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have time for, another question. Those of you who have answered questions here, some of them are just really nice comments and thanks. If we haven't gotten to your question and it's something that we can get back to you on, we'll try and do so, if we can. And we really very much thank you for the comments and the kind words, because teachers right now, a kind word is so lovely. It's so lovely.
It's challenging. I have to say, I feel like they threw me out of a boat with no life vest. It's been a challenge, and my district has tried their best. Like, I'm not going, no criticism of the district, but there is a question there about how Florida schools are teaching how science works from TED.
Yes, that was actually my next one, from TED. Yes,
we do it at every school, every state. That whole idea of memorization of facts, that's gone. That's been gone for a long time. Science is taught today as a process. Science is kids have to analyze data. Kids have to make conclusions. Kids have to develop their own hypotheses and how would you set it up, and how do you do a double-blind study, and all of those things are very much in every single state's science standards today. The idea of go to page 27 and copy the definitions, that's not happening anymore. Or it shouldn't be, I should say.
So said he graduated in 1978.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've been teaching since 1992, and I've been hands-on all the way, which is, to me, by the way, my biggest fear going back. I think the governor wants us back on Monday. I don't know how I'm going to do what I did, which is put kids in groups and let them figure stuff out.
So much of like pedagogical design is based on these making of small groups and grouping children, even to the degree of like, this is a little bit of a quieter kid and this is a kid who is a leader, so let's put them together and see what happens.
It's a chess game. It's chess, the one you put groups together.
So much more involved, and becoming a member of this profession was an eye-opening experience because of the way even myself, someone who values education and educators, you get that toxic stuff that the public says about teachers.
Constant.
You can internalize that. So you're like, well, how hard can it be? Hard. It's really hard. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's so difficult. And we thank you so much for every single thing that you do every day for us and just as an educator in general, because that's how you get doctors and nurses, folks. That's how you get everyone else.
I make sure teaching science, you're trying to teach them that science is about skepticism and awe. And wonder. That's what teaching science is about. And there's a lot of resources today that you know, in terms of evolution, I put them all on one page, but you can make it about awe and skepticism and wonder. You really can.
When I was a kid, we were lucky enough to just have Bill Nye, you know?
Oh yeah, well, he's awesome.
He's doing amazing. And now, we got our train whistle.
Oh yeah, this is how I start class now online. You know, and I start
all aboard.
You have to do all this shtick now online to get the kids like interested.
They watch a TikTok video and it moves real fast, you know.
I tell them run outside, touch a tree, come back in, stuff like that.
True. All right, my friends, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Remember that Bertha has all of these incredible resources available to you if you're an educator, if you are interested in giving a workshop, if you're a scientist. We put Bertha's information here in the chat. We would love to have you get in touch. If you have other bright ideas for fundraising for this program, please. Those are some clever thoughts. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining. And we look forward to joining you next time.
Thank you.